Vanished without a trace, the mystery of David Reynolds. The police officer stood in the driveway staring at the truck. It was parked neatly, doors locked, keys missing. The engine was cold. Inside the house, the lights were off. Dinner sat untouched in the fridge. 42-year-old David Reynolds was gone, and no one could explain how a man could finish work, drive home, and then vanish without a trace. Hours earlier, David was seen leaving a construction site outside Lincoln, Nebraska. He waved to a coworker, climbed into his blue pickup, and drove away like he had done 1,000 times before. That was the last confirmed sighting of him. When David didn't show up for dinner that night, his wife, Karen Reynolds, felt uneasy. David was not the kind of man who disappeared. He called if he was late. He came home every night. By midnight, Karen was pacing the living room, phone in hand, calling his voicemail again and again. The next morning, Karen stepped outside and froze. David's truck was in the driveway, exactly where he always parked it. For a moment, she felt relief. Then fear rushed in. If the truck was home, where was David? Police arrived soon after. They searched the house carefully. Nothing was broken. Nothing was missing. David's wallet was gone, but his work boots were still by the door. His lunch cooler was in the truck. There were no signs of a struggle, no blood, no notes. It was as if David had stepped out of his life and never returned. To understand why this shocked everyone, you have to know who David Reynolds was. David grew up in Nebraska and never wanted to live anywhere else. He worked construction for over 20 years and was known as dependable and quiet. He didn't drink much. He didn't gamble. He didn't disappear. Friends said he was the kind of man who showed up early and stayed late. The day he vanished started like any other. David woke up at 5:30 a.m., kissed Karen goodbye, and drove to the job site. Co-workers remembered nothing strange. He joked during lunch. He talked about finishing a project before winter. No one noticed fear or stress. But detectives later learned that something small may have been off. A gas station clerk remembered David stopping on the way home. She said he looked distracted, staring at the parking lot like he was waiting for someone. David bought nothing and left. It was a detail that didn't mean much at first, but later, it wouldn't stop bothering investigators. Police searched nearby fields, rivers, and abandoned buildings. Volunteers joined in. Helicopters flew overhead. Dogs followed scents that ended suddenly near David's neighborhood. Every lead went nowhere. Then, 3 days after David vanished, a neighbor came forward with something chilling. Late the night David disappeared, the neighbor said he heard a car door slam near the Reynolds house. He looked outside and saw a dark vehicle parked with its lights off. It drove away slowly when someone approached. Police rushed back to the area and searched the street again. That's when they found something they had missed before, something lying near the edge of the driveway that didn't belong there. And it changed the entire investigation. The object on the ground was small, but it made every officer stop moving. It was a construction glove, dirty and worn, lying near the edge of the driveway. Karen recognized it instantly. David always kept his gloves in his truck or lunch bag. He never dropped them outside. Police sealed off the area again. They photographed the glove and placed it in an evidence bag. The glove showed no blood, no tears, nothing obvious. But its location mattered. It suggested David may have been outside the house that night, and not alone. After the discovery, detectives went back to the beginning. They retraced David's final hours carefully. His co-workers were interviewed again. One man remembered David stepping away to take a phone call near the end of the shift. David had turned his back and lowered his voice. When asked about it, the co-worker said he thought nothing of it at the time. Everyone took calls at work. Police checked David's phone records. There were several calls that day, but one stood out. A short call made just before David left the job site. The number was unfamiliar. When detectives tried calling it back, it was disconnected. Karen told police something else that had been bothering her. A week before David disappeared, She noticed him checking the locks twice before bed. That was unusual. When she asked him if something was wrong, David smiled and said he was just tired. She believed him. Investigators began to consider different possibilities. Had David planned to leave? It didn't fit. He left behind clothes, tools, and personal items. He hadn't taken money from the bank. He didn't pack anything. Everyone who knew him said the same thing: David wouldn't just walk away. Police searched the neighborhood again. They knocked on doors and asked about strange cars or people. Most neighbors remembered nothing. But one woman recalled seeing a man standing near David's truck late that night. She couldn't describe his face. It was dark. He wore a jacket and a hat pulled low. That lead went nowhere. Days turned into weeks. Flyers with David's face were posted across Nebraska. His family held prayer meetings. Tips came in from other states, but none led to answers. Each call raised hope, then ended in disappointment. Then police got a call that changed everything again. A fisherman had found something along the Platte River, about 20 miles from David's home. It was a work badge, worn and scratched, caught in reeds near the water's edge. The name on it read, David Reynolds. Police rushed to the river. They searched the banks, the water, and nearby trails. Once again, they found nothing else. No footprints. No vehicle tracks. No sign of a struggle. The badge raised new questions. Had David been taken there? Had he gone on his own? Or had someone planted the badge to confuse investigators? Karen struggled to understand how pieces of David's life were appearing in different places, while David himself remained missing. She told detectives something chilling: David hated rivers. He couldn't swim well and avoided them whenever possible. As months passed, police faced a hard truth. They had clues, but no clear path. No witnesses who saw what really happened. No proof of a crime. No proof of an accident. Then, almost a year later, a call came in from another state. A man matching David's description had been seen working under a different name at a construction site in Colorado. Police prepared to follow the lead, hoping, fearfully, that it might finally explain where David Reynolds had gone. But when they arrived, what they found only deepened the mystery. The man on the Colorado construction site looked up when police called his name. For a split second, the officers felt their hearts race. He had the same height. The same build. Even the same tired eyes. But when he spoke, the hope disappeared. He wasn't David Reynolds. He had never been to Nebraska. He had never heard the name. It was another dead end. Police returned home with nothing but more questions. By then, more than a year had passed since David vanished. The case grew cold, but it never closed. Detectives continued to review files, replay interviews, and study every small detail. One detail kept standing out: the glove, the badge, and the strange phone call. All pieces of David's life, found or recorded after he should have been safe at home. Karen struggled to move forward. She kept David's side of the closet untouched. His boots stayed by the door. She said it felt wrong to move anything, like doing so might erase him. Every time the phone rang, she hoped it would be David saying he was finally coming home. Police considered every theory again. Could David have been taken by someone he knew? There was no clear motive. No known enemies. No money problems. Could it have been a random crime? There were no reports of violence in the area that night. Could David have left on his own? His family refused to believe it. Then, nearly 3 years after David disappeared, something unexpected happened. A storage unit on the edge of Lincoln was being cleared for auction. The owner had stopped paying years earlier. Inside, workers found old tools, a jacket, and a lunch cooler. The name written on the cooler stopped them cold. David Reynolds. Police rushed to the unit. The jacket looked like one David wore to work. The tools matched ones missing from his truck. But the unit was rented under a false name. The paperwork led nowhere. No fingerprints could be recovered. The discovery raised terrifying questions. Had David been alive after his disappearance? Had someone been storing his belongings? Or had the items been planted years later? Investigators spoke to everyone again. One former co-worker admitted something troubling. He said David once mentioned being followed, but laughed it off right after. At the time, no one took it seriously. Police searched the area around the storage unit. Behind it was an empty lot, overgrown with weeds. Metal detectors were brought in. Dogs searched again. Then a dog stopped suddenly and began to dig near a broken fence. Officers rushed forward. They found disturbed soil. Digging began immediately. Karen was called and asked to wait. Hours passed. The sun went down. Reporters gathered. Everyone held their breath. But when the digging stopped, there was no body. Only an old watch. Karen identified it instantly. It was David's. A gift she gave him years earlier. How the watch ended up there was never explained. No fingerprints. No witnesses. No answers. Today, David Reynolds has never been found. His case remains open. Police still receive tips. His family still waits. Some believe he was taken by someone he trusted. Others believe he walked away from his life for reasons no one understood. And some believe the truth is still buried somewhere, waiting to be uncovered. One question remains unanswered. If David didn't leave on his own, and no crime was ever proven, what really happened to David Reynolds the night he vanished without a trace?